guys, so today I've decided to do the intimidating TBR tag. It's been everywhere recently and I just thought it was really fun. I wasn't specifically tagged by anybody, but I've watched a lot of the tag videos. A lot of people have been like, hey, if you haven't done this tag, just do it. I encourage you to do it. So I'm going to take that to heart. And all those people that told me to do this tag, I'm gonna do it. I'm not actually sure who originated this tag because on the videos I was watching, either it wasn't linked or when it was, it now says that the video was private. So I have no idea who originally did this tag and I can't really link to the video, so they did a good job coming up with the tag though. Question number 1 is, what book have you been unable to finish? And that for me is The Glass Sentence by S.E. Grove. I attempted to read this a little over a year ago now, and I got about 80 pages in, and this is a pretty gigantic book, so 80 pages wasn't that far in, and I just realized that I was just not in the mood for it. It's a YA fantasy novel, and it sounds cool. It's got, you know, maps and time travel and stuff like that, but I just have not been in the mood for it, so I haven't finished it yet. I even took the bookmark out. Like, I knew that when I did eventually read this, it was gonna have been so long that I was gonna need to start from the beginning. Number 2 is, what book have you yet to read because you just haven't had the time? That is The Distant Hours by Kate Morton. I have had this book for a long time, and it just seems like every time I do a book haul, there's books that I want to read more. I even have some of her other books, but this is the one that I've had the longest, and I still have yet to read it. It's probably been like 4 years now since I originally bought the book. And I just haven't had the time. I've other things, I've wanted to read them more, so this one just keeps getting pushed farther down the line every time I buy more books. The third question is, what book have you not read because it's a sequel? Faithful Place by Tana French is actually the third book in the Dublin Murder Squad series. I read the first one and absolutely loved it. And then I read the second one and I didn't like it as much as the first one. A lot of people like the likeness even more than the first book, but I didn't, and I wanted to keep going with the series. I do still want to, and I did buy this for like super cheap. It was, you know, on sale somewhere, and I was like, all right, time to get it. And I just haven't felt the need to read it because I didn't love the last one as much, so my hopes have been a little dashed, but we'll see. Number 4, what book have I not read yet because it's brand new? And this one was in my last book haul, and it was the one that you guys picked as the book I should read next, and it's When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Kalanithi. It's a memoir, and it's going to be really hard-hitting. I've heard wonderful things so far, not a bad word yet, and it is quite short, so I have a feeling it's one of those, it's going to pack a punch, but I'm definitely going to read it. Like, it's on my list as the next book to read, but it's just brand new, so I haven't started it yet. What book have I not read yet because I read a book by the same author and I didn't enjoy it? My choice for this one is Ender's Shadow by Orson Scott Card. I read Ender's Game last summer, I believe, and I didn't hate it. I think I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars, but it just wasn't awesome for me. And this is actually Les's book. She let me borrow Ender's Game, and I still have Ender's Shadow. She's said that Ender's Shadow is quite good. It's about one of the characters that I did actually care about in Ender's Game. But I just haven't had that, you know, dying desire to read it because the last one I just didn't love it as much as I wanted to. Number 6 is a book you have not read because you're just not in the mood for it. God Is Not Great by Christopher Hitchens has to be my choice for this one. I was given this book as a gift many years ago, and it's a controversial book, as you might imagine, and I just haven't been in the mood for it. It's hard to say what kind of mood you need to be in to read a book like this, and I'm not entirely sure that I am just in that spot where I want to. It certainly interests me, but it's a controversial book, and so I feel like when I do read it, I need to be prepared to digest everything that it talks about and really understand where Hitchens is coming from, understand where other people are coming from. So it'll happen one day, but I'm going to need to be in a very particular mood for it. Number 7 is, what book have you yet to read because it is humongous? And Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry absolutely fits the label of humongous. This book is huge, the font is tiny. I mean, when I read this book, it's going to take me forever, but I do want to read it because it's a Western, and like, when do I ever read Westerns? This will be a totally new experience for me, and I have heard good things about it. It's so big that it's gonna take forever. The second to last question is, what book have you not read yet because it was a cover buy and it turned out to not have great reviews? I occasionally do cover buys, but nowadays I usually pay much more attention to reviews in general before I get a book. So I don't actually have a perfect answer for this one. However, I do have an answer. I'm sort of warping the question a little bit. I did not buy this book, but I borrowed The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak from my sister, who loved it, back when everybody was raving about The Book Thief. When everybody loved it, and I was like, okay, it's a World War II story. I enjoy stories around that topic. This is something that I will be interested in. And all of a sudden, all of these people started coming out of the woodwork saying that they didn't really like it that much. And I did actually read the first few pages when I was on a camping trip one time, and I think my sister had it with her, and so I just started reading it, and I was kind of like, okay. So I'm a little afraid that I'm gonna be in that boat of people that didn't enjoy it, but at the same time, I still want to read it because there are all these people that love the book so much. So I don't know. I don't know how long it's gonna sit on my to be read pile, but it's there, and it will be there for probably a bit longer. The final question for the intimidating TBR tag is, what is the most intimidating book in your TBR pile? It absolutely has to be A Brief History of 7 Killings by Marlon James. This was the most recent winner of the Man Booker Prize. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be difficult, but those books tend to be a bit more highbrow. And the font is, there's a lot of font in here. It's a big book. The speech is written in dialect of how the people are speaking, which is something that is always hard for me to read. But at the same time, it's going to push me out of my comfort zone. So I will read it because it's worth reading. It's certainly worth giving it a try, but it's just very intimidating. Beautiful, but intimidating. And that is the 9 questions for the intimidating TBR tag. If you are one of those people that has not done this tag yet and want to do it, I'm going to continue on and say, hey, if you haven't done it, do it. Since I wasn't tagged by anybody in particular, you don't have to be tagged by anybody in particular either. Go ahead, do this tag, have fun with it. If any of these books are on your TBR and you also feel intimidated by them, feel free to share down below. We can work through this together. As always, all of our links are in the doobly-doo. Please check those out if you feel so inclined. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you later.